Welcome back, guys. I'm in my garage. It's raining, it's windy, so made some room in here to finish working on the Rsx. Got a race in a week, rallycross. I test fit the gravel tires with the method wheels. Finally finished the wheel stud extensions as well. The clearance to the calipers, you can see not a lot of space. We determined that when we test fit them, just the rims, but it's pretty close. The rear is obviously not that bad. Tons of room back there. Look at that. Wish the front were like that, but Spencer and I also sanded down the paint a little bit, just some Scotch-Brite. Got rid of some of the clear coat that was peeling off, some of the paint that was peeling off, just to make sure when we wrap it, the wrap sticks. So ended up doing an oil change, and as you can see, we wrapped the hood. Not the best job. I've wrapped some stuff before, but this is some really cheap vinyl. Race car, rally car, it's not gonna matter. It's good enough. The color's there, better than that crappy blue. Now we're moving on to some more prep for the race. I got to do the headlights. We're gonna put a fresh wrap on it on the car. Might as well make the headlights look. Also gonna do a valve adjustment. Got the tools to do it. It's fairly simple, just some feeler gauges and make sure they're within spec on an ice cold motor. So this motor hasn't been run since yesterday afternoon, so it's pretty cold. Took off the front and rear bumpers. Gonna sand those down and wrap those when the wrap gets here. But for now, we'll just focus on the valve adjustment. Alright, so I'm saying wow because this looks pretty clean for 200,000 miles. Oh man, I mean, it's definitely worn, not stained at all. Look at that, that looks good. So what we're going to be adjusting are the intake and exhaust valves. So you can see here, intake, there's the exhaust ones all back here. A good amount of work to do. I'm gonna look up the spec real quick for the clearances for intake and exhaust. Alright, so valve adjustment is pretty straightforward, but the most probably technical thing you got to do is put the motor at top dead center. Obviously I pulled out all the spark plugs so that way the motor turns freely. A cool tip from Eric the car guy, he has a tutorial on this, but you use the power steering pulley. It's a 19, put it on here and you can turn the power steering pulley, turns the belt, spins the crank pretty easily because there's no compression. The other thing is I like to do to verify that is I put two extensions together into the spark plug hole. It goes all the way down, touches the piston. Don't like drop it in there, be pretty gentle because you don't want to score up the face of the piston, but you put that in there for a reason that you can see the cylinder go up and down, so you know when you're coming up and it stops moving, you are at top dead center, which is right there. So we're good to go, ready to set intake and exhaust valves. But you can see too, the cams on one completely not engaged for exhaust or intake, which is exactly what you want to do valve adjustment. These are the tools you need. This is a Honda specific valve adjustment tool. It has a 10 millimeter with a screwdriver in there. And here are the feeler gauges. It was 8 to 10 for intake and 10 to 11 for exhaust. Here you can see the numbers on there. Shove them in between the rocker and the valve, and that's how you do it. I think I might be able to show you a little bit. I got in my hand the 9 thousandths feeler gauge. What you want is nothing too tight, but the 10 is really tight. This, I can get it to be pretty loose if I jimmy it like this a little bit, but as soon as I get any angle on it, it gets pretty tight. So I'd call that pretty good. Alright, so I'm done with the valve adjustment. Just some minor adjustments. Maybe like 1 intake valve and 2 exhaust valves were looser, tighter than I wanted, but done with that. Doesn't look any different, but I did have a good idea to just look with my bore scope at the piston tops. This is just a giraffe cam end scope camera. I got it off Amazon for maybe probably like super cheap, like 20 bucks or something. Connects to your phone. I'm gonna go ahead and bore scope this and see what it looks like. It's in cylinder 1 now. Towards the center of the piston you can see so the center and the side there's some scoring marks. It looks like it's like a rough surface. That's, from what I know, detonation. I don't know if that's too troubling. Someone might have ran like some cheap gas in it once and pushed it, or as I'm spinning this, you can see how the top and bottom edges of the piston are pretty clean. But just thought it'd be cool to show you guys the bore scope. Pretty neat little tool for cheap. There's some detonation, there's some buildup. For an engine with 200,000 miles that doesn't really make any pinging noises, doesn't make any, doesn't have any check engine lights. Tough to say. Probably just some shitty gas. Yeah, gonna put the valve cover back on, put the valve cover gasket on the valve cover, clean up the surface, and call it a day for the valve cover.